Hey everybody, as you're working on your essays, I want to help you understand Constantia a little bit more with this edition of the Breaking the Code video. I'll focus your attention to the bottom of page 44 and top of page 45 as we enter section 14 from section 13. Now, again, the question fundamentally for your essay that you're thinking about is how Whitby changes. And I think that this is one of the big places in the book, in the novella I should say, where you can see that pretty directly. At the end of section 13 down here, I'm just going to read and then set up what happens on the top of the next page. Whitby is our narrator, and he says, "All these strange things were the regular features of my life. They didn't even begin to seem strange until that moment, when I was beginning to connect my presence in the cabin of a jet with the remembrance of my equally present presence on the landing of my neighbor's stairs this morning. Slowly approaching the only door on the second floor of the house on Wright Square and pulling it open. Having left my slave, Constantia, at home, my Andalusian slave, in exchange for what?" So there's a couple of notes there that you might make. One is he refers to her by the word slave again, and that's, I think, part of his growth, and you can define that as you see fit for your essay. Then also, as we begin that paragraph, all these strange things were the regular features of my life, meaning that he's used to this, but now he's changing. And then he writes, they didn't even begin to seem strange until that moment, right, when some realization occurs, and it's that realization that you're investigating. So now we have this wonderful kind of Gothic denouement here at the beginning of section 14. It's prefaced with an exchange for my life, because without Constantia, I was dead. So I ask you how he grows, and this is one of his deaths. It's metaphorical, but it changes the character for sure. So here we are as he steps up to that second floor, the only door, and he seems to open the door to history and to all its tragedy and suffering. I open the door in silence. I open the door to the silence. It is so absolute a silence that, as I open the door, all the sound in the world seems suspended. The wings cease beating. Of course, Constantia is identified with wings, and so is the Angelus Novus of Paul Klee that we talked about in the Confer Zoom. Now there is no noise, nor will there ever be again. The gray emptiness seems to tell me, the luminously gray emptiness that receives me. The floor of the bedroom is dirt, black earth, silt, river mud. In the center of the earthen floor stands a coffin, resting on a circle of red earth. I know that it is a coffin because it is shaped like one, and is large enough to hold a human body. But its Baroque construction reveals a rare level of woodworking skill. Remember Carpenter, Plotnikov. The box of worked wood is fashioned to pick up and reflect the pearly light of this region. Every surface is cut, angled, opposed to another surface. The infinite surface is shattering light, as if to carry it to some mysterious dimension. The edge of the light of death itself. I don't know. A supreme point that contains and rejects everything. An awesome place. One they can't begin to describe even today, flying 30,000 feet over the Atlantic. So obviously he's doing this in reflection. What he went through is something that he has to process. But one thing is recognizable. One thing is unmistakable. On the lid of the coffin is sculpted the same images one sees in the royal necropolises and cathedrals of Spain. The reclining figure of a woman, with the loveliest, the largest eyes, the saddest expression, her hands crossed over her breasts. She is dressed in cowl and mantle, Virgin Mary. Popular iconography makes me see this as a blue and white, but here all is worked wood and whitewashed walls, black earth and red earth. There are no icons, no full-skirted virgins or crucifixes, nothing, only my feet covered with red earth, which I stare at stupidly. I come to. I try to raise the lid of the coffin. I can't do it. He's really struggling to get into other people's lives and their suffering, right? I run my avid fingers over the decorations covering that horrible monument, feeling without wanting to, the woman's feet, her shoulders, her icy features, the sides of the coffin, the wood carved in facets that break up the very light. And each facet contained a single name, carved in the wood, a Russian name. And I've heard all the names before in the litany Mr. Plotnikov recited as he followed the red earth paths of the cemetery. names that I am finally beginning to place, names of dead men, executed, driven to suicide, imprisoned, silenced. In the name of what? For what? A powerful sense of hopelessness overwhelms me as I read the names carved on that coffin, and I don't have to do that. They might be in exile, moving down to here. Surviving, dead or alive, I don't know. That's a big point of this story as we go back to the confirmed Zoom session. I don't know, but that's okay. If you don't know, you have to create, make meaning out of it in your own way. I only know that this is a condition of suffering which seems normal, so normal, such an essential part of life, as normal as going to the cemetery to read the names of our forebears, becomes upsetting when we see it on the marble wall of the Vietnam War Memorial or at the entrance to Auschwitz. This thought is driven for me by the discovery of a small lock, a tiny hole, waiting for a key to open the lid of the coffin in the house of Mr. Plotnikov. In the keyhole shape, I recognize the echo of a form I have seen every day in my life, at least of my life with Constancia. Constancia and her sick dream, her hairpins shaped like little keys. The keys I put in my pocket of my jacket that night Constancia died in my arms. Her death opens up a world for him, right? Gives him the key to history. She is the embodiment of suffering as a female. Plotnikov is the embodiment of suffering as a male. Whitby, right? Fuentes would argue, hasn't really suffered yet. And so this is definitely part of his metamorphosis. So I would focus on the entirety of section 14, right? In terms of your essay, really highlighting some of those passages, seeing what you can use to develop your thesis. Again, this is really about you answering it as you see fit. Try your best to avoid any plot summary whatsoever. Just let the narrative of the essay be driven by your ideas, how you see the growth, how you see the changes, what instigates them, what direction they move. Create on your own. It's okay to not know even in the process of writing like Whitby does. He has to create, you do too. So let it go. Try your best to answer the question. Rely on the textual passages, but rely on your own instincts as well. I hope that helps. And as always, if you have any questions, I'm here. Just feel free to email me or set up a session. All right. Talk soon. Bye.